Hey guys, GameBoy3800 here. Once again, we are back in Beam, and today is a special day. This is the progress report of CRC. Yep, I did a video a long time ago about the state it was in. It has, of course, been substantially updated since then. And today, we're going to take a look at everything that it has to offer. Now, this is a beta. I think on Beam Monster's channel, they're going over like overall progress, alpha through to beta. They had 15 alphas, and this is beta number 7. So that's your little preview of it right here. At the end, I have CRC and CRD spawned right next to each other, so we can do a nice little comparison with that. The first and foremost thing you will notice is that things seem to be shinier, higher quality, and overall just better than CRD. This is because it uses the PBR, or physically based rendering, to do the material files. I believe that the textures are the same, but they're just rendered out differently. So here you can see one BKT tire compared to the next. They'll have the exact same like scratch marks and everything. They use the same texture file, but CRC just renders it in a totally different way. And they can be run side by side with no conflicts. That's not an issue. So let's get into it. We have the naked chassis here. If we take a look, everything here is rendered out beautifully. The suspension, pretty hardcore. It is definitely a different stance, and it's going to perform different to the stock CRD truck. Now, I don't know why with this beta the transmission has no texture, so that'll be the case for all these, so you can just ignore that. But I thought I would mention it. Here's these first go around here. I chose this map because it was big enough to spawn all the trucks in. I do have some claims to fame with this project, though. I didn't have much involvement, but I was involved in giving it this 3-speed transmission. I also put a 3-speed transmission on CRD just as an option as well. That'll be in main mod for CRD. And CRC by default will spawn with a 3-speed gearbox. You can use the parts menu to put in the power glide and the standard 2-speed gearbox if you are used to that, but here we have the 3-speed manual, or shiftable automatic technically, I think it is, and it performs really well. It's got a really tight turning circle, and it's got a much wider stance compared to CRD. You can see the hydros for the steering, they are much beefier. In theory, they should be able to take a hit or two, but I think the suspension strength is still pretty unchanged from old CRD when this project was started. So it will probably need to be buffed in the future, or before release. I have been told the release date is aimed for early October, so not too long of a wait. Of course, a release target is just a target. You can miss the target, or if something needs to be fixed, it will be fixed before releasing. But that's when I was said, or that it was posted on the Beam Monsters Discord, that the target date is for this project. Now CRD, I don't know if it's going to have the same release date target. There's still some things that needs to be worked on that I've been told to be quiet about. And that flag is also apparent on CRC, but it's not spawned on any other truck, so you don't need to worry about that. And yeah, just driving this around, you can definitely see it's a little bit different. The truck itself is heavier by about 2,000 pounds than CRD. That's because of the suspension, beefier, the chassis, physically bigger. And I think the engine is exactly the same, so that shouldn't be a problem. But everything else is changed. Gonna Shaver one more time here. Park it there. And now we move on to the bodies. Our first body is of the Bel Air. I was wondering if they're going to bring in the Nomad or the Wagon. That would be cool, but that's for a future time. We also have the S10. Over here, we have the old fire truck body. I forget what it's actually called. And we have the British dog body. And then we go back to naked again for comparison up against CRD. So this is the Chevy Bel Air. This is just a stock looking paint. I'm not sure if Avenger ever ran just a stock looking paint. But this is a custom truck, I do believe. We like to have some stock variants of real trucks or cars, so that tradition is carried over to CRC as well. It's going to get some getting used to, or take some getting used to say CRC instead of CRD. So I want to go over more what the physically based rendering means. While it does look fantastic, it does have a penalty, in that if you don't have a really fast computer like I do, it can take upwards of 20 minutes to load the truck. Just because of it needs to build all the textures and materials when you load the truck in. It won't do it automatically when you load the mesh file in like it does for CRD. Now, once you get that loaded in, it'll spawn in like a second, just like regular CRD. But if you are loading it up for the first time, like on an old laptop, especially with a hard drive, if you have your mods installed to a hard drive, it's going to take a long time. But for me, with my fast desktop computer on a solid state drive, SSD, it actually only took like less than a minute to load. Like from click spawn to having all the textures on the truck be loaded. When a texture on a truck is loading, what it'll do is say loading texture in like a green font and have some like patches on it done or not done. So, you'll tell when something is not loaded. It'll say it's loading the texture. It won't say no texture, it won't say no material, it won't be orange like the transmission currently is. But you can definitely still tell it's still got some loading to do, especially since when it's loading, even my computer, it gets like 10 FPS when loading. So you can definitely tell it's still got stuff to load. I'm not sure exactly how well BeamNG's PBR implementation is, so I'm not sure if it incurs a performance penalty. All I'm saying is I have 19 trucks spawned and I'm still getting like 50 to 60 FPS. So it's no big deal. Then again, I do have a monster of a computer, so maybe ignore that. Here we can see for the first time, Breakable Avenger body. I think I showed it before. It was breakable, but I think the old video I did, it was actually using just the F-150 base J-beam, so it wasn't actually J-beamed. Here though, it's fully done. Very nice. I've been running with broken 4-link, broken steering for a long time here. And off she goes. But yeah, I was still able to control it through all that, no problem. Next up, we have the first of many Avengers. We have the green lights, we have the pipe stacks. It is here. These pipe stacks are very cool. There's quite a few different variations depending on which truck version you get, which one you load, which one you get. And you can select them in the parts menu as well. They have angled, straight up and down, like trimmed, cut headers as well. You have all the options. Super cool. And really just looking at this, whole mod is insane. I don't even have reflections turned on. It just looks like this from default. I wonder what will happen if I enable reflections. I'll probably get no FPS, but let's see what happens. Honestly, not much change. The shocks and axles get a little bit shinier. But because everything else is already being rendered physically, it already has that kind of reflection. Or like a base level of reflection. That is really cool to see. Maybe it'll be way more apparent on, you know, maps with the sunlight instead of maps with just a point light. I don't know though. And I did spawn all the Avengers. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually run all of them, but here we have a flamey hot rod one. This one magnaflows. A little bit quieter, you can see the magnaflows. They just look stunning as well. Everything about this mod looks stunning. I'm unsure how many of these changes will be implemented to CRD eventually. This is clearly just a trial for the PBR rendering for the materials. If this works well and we can figure out the loading, or if BeamNG can figure out its loading optimization, then I have no doubt that it'll make its way onto CRD. But until then, I can only confirm that it is on CRC. You can see we have a top speed of about 84 to 85 miles per hour. It's a little bit faster than standard. That's done on purpose because of it having more gears. It's not too much of a top speed increase despite having a whole new gear because the gear ratios are changed. So, like in comparison, second gear on this will may feel way more punchier than second gear on CRD because it's got a tighter ratio. It's like 1.25 to 1 instead of 1 to 1. Third gear is still 1 to 1 though. You can of course change it all in the tuning menu, just as you always could. And you can actually see here these have a fuel cell guard, but the next truck, the Ghost Avenger, it's got no fuel cell guard. No fuel cell guard plate, I should say. Yeah. So this is World Finals 6, 7? Really cool body. Definitely one of my favorites, especially for the insane crash it had over the fountain and rocks. It's quite the show. Like I said, I'm probably not going to do all of the Avengers. Just here to show you CRC is finally here. Got the Lucas Oil one here. Then we have a customized one of these with rockin' 0 points. I think this is for the next Beam Monsters tour multiplayer, BeamMP. So that'll be fun to run. And we have the Rusty Avenger, this one done by Zach, looks amazing. Zach was, I think, the hero of this mod. We're doing a lot of the Avengers, as well as Jedi Presence, of course, doing the, I want to say the American flag one? Maybe I'm wrong though. If I am, someone can yell at me. But the rest one here, this was all Jack. It looks amazing. This one might look familiar to very long time members of the mod CRD. There used to be a pack that had this old Avenger body for CRD. It clipped the chassis something awful, and it didn't fit very well, and it wasn't breakable. But it was this one. So that'll be really cool indeed. Go ahead and get an interior shot of this. We have a new steering wheel texture as well. I think it's the same as CRD now. Before it was something different. We have the standard assortment of gauges on the right, as well as one extra one on the bottom there. That's for oil temperature. I think it's working properly. I remember seeing in an alpha test video that the gauges were not, or the needles were not aligned properly, but now they are. Oh yeah, there is also one other claim to fame I have for working on this mod, is that I found what was causing severe steering wheel and chassis shake. It was the fuel node positions. They were not changed to be further back when they should have been. So, yep, it's my other claim to fame. I have actually helped with this. Just not in the same extent that I have for CRD. But whenever there's something dumb that they need explaining, they call me up. So, I guess I'm good for something still. One thing you can do with this, I'm pretty sure you can do infinite donuts. It won't fall over. Unless you like boost the supercharger or something dumb like that. You will overheat the motor before you fall over. Whee! So if you ever wanted to get the real spin cycles going, this is probably the way to do it. You have the Scuba Aqua Avenger looking good as well. Stars and Stripes looks amazing. Steps Avenger. Then we have the S10. S10 body, we have 3 paints on it. We have the 2 Avengers, one 2017 and one World Finals, and Rage. Rage, one of my favorite trucks actually. This looks so cool. Both in real life and now in game. Another thing you'll notice is that I'm pretty sure that's a new radiator model for this chassis as well, of course. The shape being different than CRD ever so slightly does mean it needs a new model. So that's in place. I think the top fans are relatively the same. You can see they animate very well. That was close. This and the last truck I think will be basically the same. I think Avenger should have won that World Finals in this truck. Was that 18? 19? I forget honestly. The Airy got the popped wheel wheelie, the pop tire wheelie, the backflip, and actually completing the run for the most part. I think he completed the whole run, right? It was definitely a run worthy of a victor, I think. And once again, body fully J-beamed. It's no longer at F-150. It is properly J-beamed here. This truck, 2 different tires, shaved Goodyears and Michelins. I'm pretty sure it's shaved Goodyears anyways. I think these are different rims as well. I think there's several different rim styles to choose from. I'll show that later. The truck handles differently, that's for sure. The front tires don't seem to be giving us too much grip. We gotta use the rear steering to steer mostly. Now, even though this is a new mod, it carries over some properties from CRD, and you can probably tell that by the way that, you know, we can still get the like odd bump in the wheel and tire after like it grabs a car or lands really awkwardly. I'm not sure if there's ever going to be a fix to that, sadly. Not unless BeamNG reverts something it changed like 4 updates ago. Maybe longer than that. Because the rims and tires used to be fine, and then BeamNG changed something it's not documented. And now they can get spiky, even on like base game vehicles. It's pretty stupid. So if you see that happening on CRC, it's not a fault of the mod, it's a fault of BeamNG actually. And that's it for this side. Now move over to the other side. Here we have Axe, the full Michelins, huge beadlocks. This truck looks so cool. I wonder what the J-beam's like on this. Alright, it's really, really well. I'm wondering if there's going to have like a spot tailgate, you know, but it doesn't even have that, it seems. Really cool. That is that accurate. The ladders, you can see through them. They are real ladders. I'm not sure if we can take them off and climb the truck with them, but that's probably how they get in. You can see they break off normally. The body, I'm not sure how it's doing that. That's interesting. All I did was land on the back. Chalk it up to being in beta. So before anyone, calls out something for being wrong, remember, this is not the Kohler chassis. This is not the small wheelbase, short wheelbase chassis that Kohler runs, you know? If there is going to be one, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to implement, considering how much we have done already. But, you know, just saying. Let's send her one more time here. And pretty hard on the nose. And one thing you'll notice in this beta, and I'm pretty sure all the alphas as well, is I don't think there's any body supports yet. That'll be its own challenge in its own right. But yeah, no body supports yet. There does literally float there. For the hood that kind of makes sense, but for the back, not too much. That'll be fixed though, don't worry. Next we have the Brutish trucks, the redesign and the classic. There's a lot of paints on this body as well, so I'm not sure I'll do all of them. I'll just drive this one and maybe spike to get the point across that it's here. Oh god dang it. Didn't mean to hit Control R, I meant to hit Control T, so. Return to home. And here it is, we have the truck. J-beamed as well. This one. That was a cool move. And if we roll it over, we should be able to find that the ears can break off separately as well. Rip. Yeah, you can probably tell it only broke off the ear, but just in case you haven't. Yoink. But you can break off the ear separately. That was a crash. And again, everything on this just looks so good. Gotta redo all my vehicle tabbing because I hit Control R, and that put it on top of the queue, or at the end of the queue. There it is. I sure got the wolf as well. Looks very similar to the first Brutus we saw, and the second one, and there's the old design. Then Spike. Or is it Spike Unleashed? I forget. Put the Team Scream badging on the back. Definitely is looking really, really good. Yep, there goes the ear on its own. And over we go. And so now we're going to take a look at some things comparing CRC and CRD. We take a look right quick. Headman headers have a new texture, and it looks like they're both rendering the same way on both. Except we have different rims up here. Take a look at these, they look really cool. Change the front rims individually with this CRD and now CRC update. And you can tell those are both different from the standard beadlock one here. Now I'm going to load up some different tires so that you can see what happens when we put on different tires, and we haven't loaded them up yet. So I don't think we loaded up the Harpers yet, have we? Let's take a look at how these load in here. We have, then nothing will change. Does not look like anything changed, so Ukraine new tires? Let's try these. Just trying to find something that we haven't loaded yet. So there we go, that's the texture loading texture. Can't really read that saying loading texture, but you can see, for me, it only takes a couple of seconds to get the major part done. Now it's totally complete, and our new tires are ready to go. It's making the cache. You won't need to have that loading thing happen again. Of course, it doesn't just do that for all the parts like it does on CRD at once on spawn. You do need to load the parts up one at a time to get the cache to be totally complete. And if you clear the cache, you need to do it for the whole thing again. And that will take time. So I wanted to show that. And next I wanted to show okay. There we go. I wanted to show, like, we've been driving CRC this whole time. What's it like to go back to CRD 3? Or just CRD in general? Definitely will take a slight bit getting used to, especially since, you know, it's a skinnier form factor. It almost looks too skinny. I'm pretty sure it's realistic. Either that or the chassis itself is too wide. I think something is going to happen about that in the future. Can't really say for sure though. But now, just driving this back to back, I can get right back into it. It's not like I changed my outlook of life or anything. But, you know, it'll take some getting used to. These trucks do look, perform, and handle differently in every way that is obvious and not so obvious. So that's gonna about do it for this update video. We got CRC supposedly coming out soon, but if it doesn't, don't yell at anyone. It's being worked on really hard. Got basically every Avenger and some of the other bodies that ran CRC. I think there's gonna be another one, F-150, just added just because, even though I think F-150 ran CRC once someplace a couple of years ago, but I really don't know. It'll just be done for customization's sake, since there's so much F-150s, you know? Or something like that. Whatever. That's going to do it for this long video. I tried to keep it short by cutting out some duplicate style trucks and paints, but obviously this is still a super long video. And I appreciate you watching all the way through. If you have, if you enjoyed watching the CRC content updates, you can go ahead and subscribe over to Beam Monsters. They've been doing this for a while. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all in the future. Goodbye, everybody.